All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about what could be a whole new chapter for artificial intelligence. You see, for the longest time, the story of AI has been all about getting bigger, just massive. But a new quest is starting, one that's focused less on brute size and more on something, well, smarter, efficiency. And figuring out what that shift really means is exactly what we're here to do.
And that brings us right to the heart of the problem in AI today. On one side, our models are getting unbelievably smart, doing things that were pure science fiction just a few years back. But, and this is a big but, all that brain power comes at a really steep price. It's creating some huge problems that are actually starting to slow things down.
So before we can even talk about the new solution, we have to get a handle on the problem everyone in the industry is facing. Think of these as the growing pains for a technology that's pushing every limit it can find, and those pains come with some serious hidden costs.
And this is what's called the bottleneck effect. It all starts with just a colossal amount of energy consumption and computing costs that are, frankly, astronomical. They're so high that it puts a drag on the entire industry. Innovation actually starts to slow down because only a handful of giant companies can even afford to play the game. And that right there locks out smaller teams, the startups, the researchers, the very people who often come up with the next big thing.
But what if there's a totally different way to think about this? This is where our focus for today, a new model called Qwen3-Next, enters the picture. It represents a completely different philosophy on what actually makes an AI powerful. So let's take a look at what makes it tick.
So what is Qwen3-Next? Well, at its core, it's an AI built around one single powerful idea, getting to the absolute top tier of performance, not by being the biggest, but by mastering something called training and inference efficiency. It's the classic work smarter, not harder approach, but for AI.
Okay, that sounds fantastic, right? But what does efficiency even mean here? How does a model like this pull it off? To really get it, we need to break down the two main parts of an AI's life.
And this analogy just nails it. Think of training like an architect's entire education. All those years of school. It's the slow, incredibly expensive, one-time slog to learn everything about design, physics, materials, you name it. Inference, on the other hand, is what happens after they graduate. It's the trained architect sitting down and quickly sketching a blueprint. It's the fast, practical use of everything they've learned. See the difference? Almost all the cost and energy goes into the schooling, not the sketching. So Qwen3-Next's strategy is actually beautifully simple. It just attacks the problem from both sides. Step 1, make that schooling phase smarter, so it doesn't need as much raw power to learn. And step 2, make the sketching phase way faster and more streamlined. It's not about picking one or the other. Real efficiency comes from making the whole process better, from start to finish.
Okay, so we get the how, but now for the most important part, the why. Why should you or I actually care if an AI is more efficient? Well, this is where all that technical stuff starts to have a real, tangible impact on all of our lives. The ripple effect from this is just massive, and it starts with you. More efficient models mean that powerful AI can finally leave the giant data centers and run on your own devices, your laptop, your phone. That new accessibility plus a much lower environmental cost totally changes the game. All of a sudden, innovation isn't just for the big guys anymore. The door swings back open for that next wave of researchers and startups to come in and build the future.
This whole thing brings us to a pretty fundamental question about where we go from here. For years, the race has been to just build the biggest, most massive model possible. But models like Qwen3-Next are suggesting that maybe, just maybe, we're entering a new era with a totally different finish line. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The next giant leap in AI might not be measured by how many parameters it has or how much data it was trained on. It might be measured by how elegantly and efficiently it can solve a problem. The future, it seems, might just belong to the swift and not just the strong.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question to think about. As we keep pushing the boundaries of what AI can do, where do we put our energy? Do we stay in the race to build bigger and bigger and bigger? Or do we pivot to a new challenge, to build smarter? The answer to that is going to define the next decade of technology.